Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ring Ready Live, the home of the owner handler, brought to you by Showsite Magazine. I'm Dan Sayers here with Lee Whittier, the dog show mentor, and you are joining us today for episode 5 in our conversation about you, the owner handler. And if you are a return visitor, we want to thank you for adjusting your schedule this week on such short notice to join us here at a new time. Next week, we will be back at our regular time, 3 p.m. Eastern. And we have a lot to cover today, Lee. So before we get started with some questions left over from last week, I wonder if you could just remind our listeners about the Dog Show Mentor Facebook page that is open to non-members.
Oh, yes. It's Dog Show Mentor Owner Handlers. And it's a place where you can come and ask questions, talk to each other in a safe forum. It's a private page, but you can find it, Dog Show Mentor Owner Handlers.
Awesome. Thank you for that reminder. I encourage everyone to seek some of Lee's advice through her non-member Facebook page. And Lee, you mentioned something last week that I thought was brilliant. You answered a question and your response was to go back and read your breed standard. And I love that. And I wondered if you had anything to elaborate on that before we get started today.
Well, just that when I was in Tacoma, I had the opportunity to interact with some of the club members, and they were saying that they had watched our show last week, our Facebook Live last week, and that they were very interested in that breed standard part and did go back and did read their standard, and they saw something new. And so for a 30-year person to say, yeah, I've read my standard hundreds of times, but when I went back and really looked at the words, at the individual words, not just the whole meaning of the sentence, it took on a new meaning. So I was glad to hear that. And I hope that most of you did go back to your breed standard and did find something that was extra special for you.
And if you did that, let us know. Leave a comment here and let us know what your experience is by revisiting your breed's standard.
Yeah, I really want to know that. So
great.
Put it in the chat.
Lee, we had a question also left over from last week from Julia, and she had a question for you about ladies wearing slacks in the ring. Is that acceptable? Is it professional for a lady to wear slacks?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Choose your wardrobe. Always choose your wardrobe carefully. When you're, you're in a functional beauty contest, right? So when you're in a functional beauty contest, it's not just your dog, it's you who's creating that backdrop for the dog. And so however that looks best, if you think that you look best in slacks and a jacket or a vest, or even a nice shirt, go for it. I wear slacks. Usually I wear slacks at shows where I'm, for example, judging in freezing cold weather, that I would definitely wear slacks. And I like wearing slacks when I'm watching shows. So this fall, when I go to Montgomery County, you'll probably see me in slacks and boots. So yeah, it's the 21st century.
It is indeed. That's great advice. No matter where you are, no matter the weather, dress in a way that complements your dog and keeps you comfortable as well. We have another question from last week from Naomi, and she is going to be getting her new pup early next month. And so she is asking you if it is best for her to start out showing her dog in as a 6-month-old in the 6 to 9 puppy class or the 9 to 12 puppy class?
Well, I guess it depends on how old the puppy is, right?
Sure.
But seriously, it really depends on your breed and your dog and what your goals are. So we always go back to, what are your goals here? What is your goal to show your puppy? If it's to, and again, it depends on the breed, but if your goal is to finish the dog from the 6 to 9 class, then you better get going, right? And if the goal is to give the dog a little bit of exposure, there you go. As long as it's not in a fear period, you want to stay away from too many new things when they're, going through that stage. And not all dogs ever go through that stage. It depends on the dog. So we had an interesting discussion on the Dog Show Mentor Owner Handlers Facebook page this week about this very thing, about dogs that have fear, and particularly at dog shows. And sometimes one of the things that came up was, bitches are coming into season, and frankly, some of them don't really want their rears touched, and they let you know that. And so why not sit out a few shows so that your bitch can have all good experiences at every dog show that she goes to. So use your judgment.
With puppies, it is always about having those good experiences, isn't it? I'm wondering if you, as a judge, if you're hearing, dare I say, excuses for puppy behavior due to COVID, not getting to classes and not getting your dog socialized enough. Have you heard those comments?
Dan, I have to say, yes, I have. And I think that the term COVID puppy is being used too much. I don't want my puppy to be identified and labeled as a COVID puppy. I want her to be identified as a beautiful, smart, happy puppy.
Yeah.
And in fact, my next article in ShowSite, my next one after this one, is going to be about that very thing.
Well, we'll look forward to reading that, and let that be a lesson to all listeners here. Don't put the label of COVID puppy on your puppy. Just encourage your pup to enjoy its puppyhood, and don't pressure it too much, but prepare it as much as you can.
Dan, can I just add one thing here?
Sure.
I love it when people in the ring as a judge exclaim happily about their puppy, whatever it is, or their dog. And it's a mystery to me when people say something like, oh, he's being a jerk today, or, oh, I don't know why he's doing this, bad dog, or something. And I think this should be all positive. And you should be telling the judge how you love your puppy. And if the behavior isn't perfect, you're working with that all the time, because the behavior is never really perfect. I mean, there are a few people who can pull it off every time. But when your dog does something that you didn't really want it to do, exclaim, find something positive to say about your dog, or say nothing.
Once again, Lee, that is brilliant advice, because
I don't know if it's brilliant, but it is,
in this man's opinion, because I'm sure that an awful lot of us listening to you have found ourselves making excuses, if not in the ring to the judge, maybe to another exhibitor in the ring or outside the ring. And we need to change our vocabulary and just only use positive exclamations where our dogs are concerned. They really do pick up on that positivity, I find. And it goes a long way towards achieving your goals when you're speaking positively and have that positive mindset. So thank you again for that. One other question from Laura from last week, which is a really good one. Laura says that she notices when she's in the group ring that a lot of the professional handlers are congregating in the corner while the group judging is underway. And so Laura asks, shouldn't she be showing her dog the entire time that she's in the group ring or not?
You know, the group ring experience is really different from the breed ring experience. And the etiquette is different. So there are really two questions here. So I think she's asking why the pros are congregating in the back of the ring. And then I think she's saying, why aren't they showing their dogs the whole time? But I'm not totally sure of the question. But I'm just going to say that, look, there are a bunch of things that are happening when the professionals are congregating in the back of the ring. And my not being there certainly leaves me out of that conversation. But I will say that my experience has been that they're in the back of the ring. They're talking to each other. They see each other every week. This may be the first time that they've had all day to even say more than hello, because they've been running from ring to ring to ring to ring. And so they're relaxing. They're letting their hair down a little bit. But at the same time, their dog that's going right down the lead to the dog. The dog has an opportunity to relax and de-stress, right? And then some of them are working with their dog in some way while they're chatting, right? So they may be cooling their dog off on a cool mat or with a cool coat, right? Or they might be, brushing, combing, something. Like if I had my Tibetan, I'd be brushing, right? Brush. So there's so many things happening back there that, and that's just sort of the tip of the iceberg. But so what I would say, Laura, is that no, in the group ring, your dog would be burnt out, the first weekend out if you spent 30 straight minutes showing your dog. And there's a good point that particularly in low entry breeds where there's only one or two ever, your experience in that ring is very short, right, Dan?
2.4 minutes. That's about it.
But right, you come from a low entry breed. I had Sussex, which is a low entry breed. Tibetans are not low entry, but have, in some places, like in my area, there are very few of them. I might be the only dog. So that's quick. So yeah, you're showing the whole time in the breed ring. But in the group ring, you have to use your judgment, and you're creating a system for showing your dog. And so we're going to talk in future about ring etiquette for the group ring.
And for those listeners who become members of Dog Show Mentor, they can learn an awful lot more and dive in deep, can't they, with their own personal goals.
That's what we do. That is what we do.
Excellent. Well, Laura's question about how the owner handlers congregate in the ring brings us to this week's main question, and that has to do with the owner handlers. And so, Lee, I've really got two questions for you where that is concerned. And the first one is, are most owner handlers, in your opinion, intimidated by the pros? And then my second follow-up question would be, can the owner handler beat the professional handler?
Well, yes.
Okay.
I have found that almost all owner handlers are intimidated by professionals at first.
Hmm.
The ones who are really smart find out that they can learn an awful lot from the professionals. And then that mindset changes to, maybe I can learn something from this person. And in fact, many of the pros offer their help to owner handlers, and particularly new ones who are struggling. And I found them very generous as a judge in assisting with breeds. And I have found in my dog show mentor group that some of my members use handlers to help them learn new trimming techniques. Maybe they want to have the handler watch their dog move and give them some insights. Maybe they have the handler move the dog so that they can see their own dog and how they could look their best, right? So there's that fallacy of, owner handler versus professional handler that really takes a little while for the owner handler to let go of. But I am a proponent of preparation with a good dog. We as owner handlers, we have to up our game so much from the beginning to the time where our dogs are really competitive, right? So that we get them really competitive, that we need some help. And so if you're at a dog show and you see that there's a handler there and you say, okay, I'm going to talk to this handler, and you're a little intimidated. So you're sort of like closing your eyes and saying, okay, I'm going to do it. Just do it. Just walk up to somebody in their setup when they don't look super busy, or by the ring if they're waiting to go in the ring, and say, hey, you know what? I know you've got a lot of experience in X. I could use some help in that. Do you have some time this weekend to give me a hand? And they could say no. And if they say no, no big deal. Go on to the next one. Find somebody that will be helpful to you. So I strongly suggest to make an alliance with professional handlers and learn from them.
That's a great word, alliance. A lot of times owner handlers can feel very alone, but really they're one conversation away from forming an alliance with somebody who can offer them a lifetime's worth of experience. And, the professional handlers with a capital P, for them, it is their career, it is their livelihood, but it is also their way of life. They are as passionate about purebred dogs and the sport of dogs as anybody. And if they sense that your question, that your inquiry is coming from that same place of passion and commitment to dogs and to the sport, I would think that they can't help but want to, share their words of wisdom and their experience with you.
Well, authentic curiosity is seductive, right?
It is. Yes. Yes.
And I love that you just said that. It's absolutely true.
Well, I think in your role as the dog show mentor, and in my career, as an editor, as a writer, and as an interviewer of people in our sport, that curiosity is, it's just what keeps every new experience exciting and interesting. In our sport, there's always something to learn, right? Whether you're a a raw rookie of an owner handler, or you're an owner handler with all those best in shows under your belt, there's still something new. There's still a new judge to get your dog in front of, and there's always a new dog that's going to come along. It's always, if you're curious, this world of dog shows is one that is always going to keep you interested and keep you excited about the next thing. And we're just one conversation away from learning something new.
Well, and the pros help each other. You know, for example, say I'm a handler, and a professional handler, and I hand a dog over to somebody and say, look, you know, I'm not showing this dog today. Could you, you know, groom it, whatever. And what's really interesting is then that person will say, I don't know how to trim this dog. I don't know how to do cocker feed, right? And so then the other handler has to say, well, I'll help you, right? So they help each other learn different things about different breeds, and likely the judges, I would say.
Yeah, that's you just have me thinking about a lot of judges that I've sort of been in front of and felt intimidated by because of their reputation, you know. And then I was so surprised to learn how easy many of them were to talk to. And once again, when they understand that you really do want to learn, boy, the judge or the professional handler can become that great ally, you know, and one of your best mentors and teachers. You're obviously a perfect example of that. And you clearly love what you do. You know, it's just something that you offer because this is, you know, who you are. And again, to all of our listeners, the Dog Show Mentor is, you know, one Facebook conversation away. You can reach Lee here every week. Lee, I see that we are getting some questions this week, but I just think that in the efforts of time, we might want to consider saving them for next week, unless you feel we have some time.
Do we have time to finish that, the second part of that question, which is, are the pros unbeatable? Right?
Thank you. Yes.
So I really want to dive into that just a little bit. So every weekend, at every ring, there is an owner handler who pilots a dog to a win over a professional with another dog that may be deserving. Okay, every ring, every weekend. That myth is, it should never leave your lips that the pros always win, or oh, it was a pro, or oh, whatever. That should never leave your lips, because every weekend there are owner handlers whose dogs have won over professionals' dogs. So I think it is an essential part of my mindset to put that out into the dog world, because when I hear that from people, I instantly think that person's not paying attention. And what about the handlers who have won Best in Show at Westminster, who are owner handlers? Now, some of them truly are professional handlers who are breeder owner handlers, but some of them have been, just like you and me, owner handlers. So at all levels, whether it's a class win or a Best in Show win at Westminster and everything in between, owner handlers prevail when they are prepared and when they have a good dog, right? And so preparation and timing equals luck, and go out there and make your own luck and start out winning that blue ribbon over someone who maybe has a little more experience than you do. Because truly, it's experience and preparation that give the professionals an edge at times. But when you go out with that good dog and you go out there and hammer it every weekend, go out there and hammer and just pound through the tough things, the things that cause you to give away a win, then you'll be successful. And I see this every weekend that I see, and almost always an owner handler, sorry to us, almost always it's an owner handler who gives away when it's like they hand it to their competition, whether it be another owner handler or a professional. And what I see in the professionals is they never leave it on the table. They work as hard as they can. They're prepared. They get in there. They're on time. So those are all reasons to dispel that myth that owner handlers can't prevail in the ring. So there.
I think you just put the exclamation point on that answer. You know, as you were giving us that response, Lee, I kind of realized how each of our conversations build on the previous conversations, and you're just emphasizing a little bit more clearly, strongly, passionately what it is that we, the owner handlers, need to do. And one of those things I've learned from this week's conversation is there's no room for excuses. There's no excuse for your puppies being a COVID puppy and misbehaving, and there's no excuse why you were beaten by another owner handler or a professional. Do your homework, be prepared. Your dog is good, hopefully, or he or she wouldn't be in the ring. But I feel like some of us, we get so comfortable with making excuses that it just becomes a habit, not only in showing dogs, but in life in general. Oh, well, I didn't win, or I didn't get the job, or I, didn't get the house, or whatever it is that we want. And we make excuses, and let's take that energy and let's form specific goals. Let's strategize. Let's do the work. Let's build those alliances, as you talked about this week with the professionals, and let's be more positive.
Well, and I want to make one more point, Dan, and that is that rather than concentrate on beating, if you will, a specific group of people, i.e. the professionals, really keep your eye on who's winning, who's the dog to beat, right? Some days it's the professionals and some days it's not. So, and there's going to be more on that in my article in the April edition of Ring Ready. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I'd love to know what a couple of these questions are. How are we doing for time, Dan?
I think we have time for at least one question. Lindy, Angela, thank you for your questions. We're going to get back to you next week, but we just got a question from Siobhan, and she is asking, Lee, is there any truth to the idea that showing to the same judge multiple times gives you an advantage? That's an interesting question, Siobhan.
It is an interesting question. I don't think so. I mean, it only gives you an advantage that you yourself are now more comfortable in that judge's ring because you know what to expect. You're not feeling as intimidated because you've had the experience already. And so you're feeling more comfortable. That means your dog is feeling more comfortable, and therefore you're probably creating a better presentation. So I think that's the only advantage that I can think of as to why it would be more advantageous to show more to a judge. But in this time that we have of shows where there was a time, particularly last summer and fall, where there were only a handful of judges that were going out, and they were going out every weekend, and everybody was showing to the same judges all the time for months. And so everybody was showing to them. So that meant everybody had the advantage. I don't know.
Yeah, that was kind of unavoidable last year. That seems to be changing now as more and more clubs are able to hold their shows. And I just want to offer, Lee, if I may, that it behooves every owner handler to do a little research on the judges that they are entering under, because there may be a history with your breed that judge has. That judge may have been a professional handler at one time who showed some of your breed's top dogs, top competitors, or that judge may have maybe a provisional judge and may, be really looking forward to judging an entry in your breed. So, I think that it's always a good idea to do a little bit of research if you can, and that's kind of easy to do nowadays, and just see what your judge's experience is with your breed. I don't know if you have anything to add to that. It was just something that
but I would just like to thank, I see that we have quite a few comments, and hi Janice, welcome, and Peg, and if I don't say your name, it just means that I didn't see it. Hera, we have a Muhammad Ali, Lindy, welcome back. Joanne, welcome back. Hera, and so lots of comments. Thank you, Angela. It's fun to see everybody commenting, and we love to go back and look at your comments later. Bobby and Aylin, Natalie, Shelley, welcome. We're glad you're here, and we hope that you got a lot out of what we had to say today.
We're always happy wherever you are that you can spend 30 minutes of your week with us. I know that we have people joining us from all over the US and from around the world. A lot of people are joining us from India, from South Africa, from Australia. And again, as Lee said, we welcome you here, and we look forward to having you join us next week at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Before we go, Lee, I just want to remind everyone that Showsight and Ring Ready will be publishing our pre-Westminster issue, and that for owner handlers for this issue, we have a special offer. And for the first 3 owner handlers who place an ad by this Friday of this week, the 30th of April, Ring Ready and Showsight Magazine are offering you a free logo design. Now that could be a design for your kennel, or that could be a design for your a specific dog. But we have some extraordinary designers who will work with you to provide kind of the brand image, if you will, that you've been seeking. So if you are an owner handler, you are looking to develop a brand identity for your dog or for your kennel, the first 3 who place an ad with Ring Ready by this Friday will take advantage of having a design developed for you. So I always want to encourage you to read Ring Ready, and if you have a story that you would like told, there is always space for you in our magazine to publish your experience as an owner handler. And if you have an editorial, an idea that you would like Lee or I to address, we would love to hear from you as well. And you can reach me at ringready@showsightmagazine.com. And Lee, once again, a reminder, if you will, for how our listeners can get a hold of you.
Right. So go to dogshowmentor.org/rate your dog. And there's a rate your dog card. Just put in your information and you'll be able to download that in PNG form. So have fun with that. Take it seriously. It's pretty simple, but you can really go deeply into your dog and your standard, and then you can use it to rate other dogs in your kennel or in your home, and then branch out. Next week, I will be having an offer, so come back next week to hear about what that is going to be.
We'll look forward to hearing about that. And next week, we'll be continuing our conversation from this week about the relationship between.
Oh, we lost Dan. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. This is Lee Whittier, your Dog Show Mentor. We'll see you in the winner's circle. Bye, everybody.